Okay, evolving with the cosmos. The cosmos is full beyond measure of elegant truths, of exquisite interrelationships, of the awesome machinery of nature. The surface of the earth is the shore of the cosmic ocean. On this shore, we've learned most of what we know. Recently, we've waded a little way out, maybe ankle deep, and the water seems inviting. Some part of our being knows this is where we came from. We long to return, and we can, because the cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. Carl Sagan.
Thank you so much, Z. That was from the back of our 2026 Still and Moving Center Almanac. And it's for the theme for this year of evolving with the cosmos. Welcome everybody to Still and Moving Center, a conversation circle that we give every Saturday is gems from the wisdom traditions. And today we're taking up the topic of the arrow of self, which I wonder whether or not it's very closely relating to this self that knows itself through the cosmos. That Z, could you read that last sentence of the back of the almanac? How did that go?
We long to return, and we can, because the cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself.
Yeah, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. And today we are taking up this topic of the arrow of self. And we're very fortunate to have with us Dustin Hara. Both of his names, Dustin and Hara, stem from words that mean warrior. And when I thought of that image of the arrow, he came to mind. And he's somebody who, to me, seems to have cultivated a great deal of self-awareness. He's done studies in many fields, and he's going to speak to us today from at least 2 different Japanese fields, and I understand many others. I'm going to hand it off to Dustin to talk to us about this idea of the arrow of self, so the rest of us can have a fruitful conversation afterwards.
Thanks so much, Renee. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'd love for us to get a little into our bodies before we go deep into our minds for conversation. So I invite you all to stand with me. It's always good to get a little bit of movement in. And with this theme of the arrow of the self, let's take a moment to just find a nice, relaxed position. If you're familiar with a bow stance, you can start to get into a bow stance. Maybe you know where I'm headed with this. So go ahead. We can place the feet. You can't see my feet, but maybe about shoulder width distance apart. And go ahead and soften the knees. There we go. And just everybody sense the bottom of your feet as we're doing this. You can sense your knees as well. And I want you to imagine you're about to pull from your back just the perfect bow. You know? You can take a minute to look at it. What material is your bow made of? Is it a rare wood, a zebra wood? Maybe it's a precious metal. Maybe it's a beautiful organic shape from a twig or a branch. And just take a moment to feel the weight of it in your hand. You know? Sense, how does it feel? How does that weight rest on your hand? Go ahead and pull an arrow out and place it in the quiver. And just everyone sense your arms, sense your shoulder blades. And then we're going to take a minute. We can close our eyes. Gently close your eyes. And I want you to envision a mark in front of you. Could be any mark. Maybe it's a tree. Maybe it's a can. Maybe it's something big and spectacular. Maybe it's a target. And let's pull back. Draw that arrow. Everybody sense your chest as we're drawing. And when the moment is right, then release it. Good. Let's switch over to the other side. We'll do it on the other side now. And this time noticing the string of the arrow. What material is it made from? Is it horsehair? Is it twine? Maybe it's made from some palm fiber. Just notice that. We can pull our next arrow out. And imagining now this arrow as the self, in what direction do we want to send this arrow out in? Maybe before we release and draw the arrow, just noticing the arrow itself. What is your arrow made of? Mine looks kind of multicolored, multifaceted, sharp and precise. Beautiful feathers on the end, a little bit of flare, a little bit of flash. And let's draw that arrow. We can pull it back, and just about as we're ready to release, we notice there's an obstacle in the way of our target. How the heck did that obstacle get there? Now, I want you to imagine, and when you release, is there a way to twist and turn this arrow, slightly spin it, and have it go around the obstacle so we can still hit our mark with purpose? Sensing our knees, sensing that expansion. I can sense my chest. Yeah. And here we go. When the moment is right, you can release. Sending ourselves out into the world. Even when obstacles pop up in front of us at the last moment, that arrow can still hit the mark. And sometimes it doesn't hit the mark, and that's okay too. I think mine missed by a half a foot. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, Renée, for inviting me to share some thoughts and personal experience with this particular topic. In a sort of a dash to understand different aspects of this topic, because it's so multifaceted. You know, there's so many different perspectives on the arrow and the arrow of the self. And in reference to what we just practiced, and hopefully you're all sensing your bodies now and a little bit warmed up. In preparation for this topic, I had watched all these videos on just these incredible Zen archers, and some just very talented archers. And of course, the quality of the bow was really important. But what was the most important, which was this recurring sort of theme in archery, was the arrow. And the quality of the arrow, of the materials, the precision of the craftsmanship of the arrow itself, the weight, the type of fins or feathers that were used. And beyond that, whatever material was used, how much that allowed maneuverability or mobility in the arrow itself. It was really interesting. I mean, when I start talking about it, it makes sense, but that wasn't the thing that I thought would be the most important. I thought, of course, the skill of the archer and the aiming, the practice is important, and that's what I thought was the main thing, is just the skill of the one holding the bow and the arrow. And so it was really incredible. I seen some videos. There was this one guy, his name is Lars Anderson, just demonstrating with quality arrows and with this ability to maneuver the arrow to go above, around, between all different types of obstacles and still hit a mark with purpose. And I just thought that was just so incredible. And how many times in our own lives have things not gone according to the plan in our own mind's eye, or perhaps even the destination or the mark that we had started out or intended for. And I think there's such a great lesson in this, that hitting a mark with purpose doesn't necessarily always mean that we start in a direct line from the beginning. That we can actually land upon all different sorts of marks and destination with purpose and with meaning, with this ability to be very refined and to be very mobile and agile as we move through life. And so just such a beautiful thing with the arrow in itself. I really love some of the learnings and the readings from the Theosophy Trust website on the arrow sign. And Renée shared with me some beautiful references and inserts as well. I'll read this one. This is from Mundaka Upanishad. And just listen to these words and let it kind of sink in for you. It says, having taken as a bow the great weapon of the secret teaching, one should fix in it the arrow sharpened by constant meditation, drawing it with a mind filled with that, Brahman, penetrate, O bright youth, that immutable mark. The pranava, or aum, is the bow. The arrow is the self. Brahman is said to be the mark. With heedfulness, it is to be penetrated. Become one with it as the arrow in the mark. Know that self alone, the one without a second, on which are strung heaven and earth, inner space, mind, vital energy, all the organs. Leave off other words, for this is the bridge to immortality. Wow. And may you all have a wonderful Saturday, because that's all that needs to be said. And what I really love, there's another wonderful quote, Renée, that you also shared by William Q. Judge, and that's, let us hit the mark, O friend. And that mark is the indestructible, the highest spiritual life we are at any time capable of. And I just love that last portion, the highest spiritual life we are at any time, any moment, could be now or later, capable of. I really loved how the references and the explanation from the Theosophy Trust website brings this importance on the clarity, this decisiveness, this direction of the arrow and of the self. And that for us to perhaps consider changing our perspective, that we are not the archer, but we are the arrow. In Zen archery, there was an interesting quote also in one of the things I was reading, which it said the most important thing is not whether or not you hit the mark or aim, whether you're aiming at the target or not, but instead it is the moment of release. And so this focus not on the archer, this focus not even on the target, but the moment where the arrow becomes free. It begins its motion towards the mark. It begins its movement. And so I'd love for you to think about and ponder this thought, and we can come back to it a little bit later. But where is an example in your own life where you've experienced perhaps aiming for a certain mark or destination or goal, and life took you on a curved path? There were some unexpected obstacles, and you still were able to land upon that mark or a mark with meaning and with purpose. And so, yeah, I would love to hear about some stories a little bit later. The Bible has some wonderful references also on this idea of the arrow as the self. I grew up in the church, so some of the scripture references always come to me really quickly on any particular topic. There's one I love in Isaiah is a wonderful book. If you haven't read the book of Isaiah, it's a very imaginative, visionally descriptive as far as this vision of the self in many, many different ways. I would, when you have a moment to go through Isaiah, it's just such a beautiful book on this idea of the self and identity. But Isaiah 49 has a wonderful scripture that says, "He makes us into a polished and refined arrow and conceals me in his quiver." It also says that we are like precious arrows in the hand of a great warrior. And then in a different chapter of Isaiah, but it seems so relevant to me, he talks about this is Isaiah the prophet, talks about this idea of we are the clay and he is the potter. And so I just love this thought that we, the self, can be these precious, refined arrows with direction and purpose that have the ability to maneuver in and over and through things with purpose, to pierce with clarity and with direction, and that it is something so precious also, and that there's this reference of the arrow being of ourselves, being this arrow that we're being held or hidden kind of right until the moment of release, when the timing is right, when the conditions are right, the direction we go into, the speed we head into the direction, the moment of impact is all in alignment with this moment of release. And so another query for us to ponder beyond a story of when you were able to overcome an obstacle and land upon a destination of purpose is where, and this is the start of the year, so it's such a great time for us to think about some of these things. It's always a great time, but an extra great time at the start of the year. Where am I in my life now, or in my work, maybe in my relationship, maybe in my health journey? Where am I being shaped or prepared in my life that perhaps I cannot yet see? I can't yet see the mark. I can't yet see the destination, but maybe I'm in something right now where this arrow is being refined. This clay is being molded by the potter. when I thought about this topic of the arrow of the self, the first sort of reference that popped into my mind was ikigai from the Japanese tradition. And I kind of love how these two pair together. From the theosophical tradition, the arrow is so clear, so decisive, directional, refined, purposeful with its trajectory. And then from ikigai, there is this approach of this definition, but it being so round and full and very much into this idea of feeling and this being present in the moment in order to have this real clarity, this real decisiveness. And ikigai literally means that which makes your life worth living. And I love that we can look for this, what makes my life worth living in sort of any moment, just in the natural flow of our daily life. I think how I really connect also with ikigai is it's not something that you sort of discover, or at least for me, it's not something that I discovered or something that someday I like chose to, oh, I'm gonna have ikigai or I'm gonna find ikigai. But it's more, it started to happen when I had the awareness to be more present in any moment doing anything. That there were just these moments of clarity, these moments of gratitude, these moments of fulfillment, kind of doing anything in any moment. And it could be, it's happened sometimes when I'm washing dishes. I will just feel this joy and this gratitude of just having the ability to have water, clean water, and soap, and the ability to stand and move my hands and be able to wash my husband's precious ceramic pottery dishes with care and not chip them, and then to notice his dishes and to realize how amazing for someone to have the talent to actually craft something into a beautiful piece of ceramic that we can enjoy again and again. It happens in a moment of music, sitting down, practicing, and then not hitting the right notes even. Not only when it's done right, but not hitting the right notes when I'm trying to, and the ability to create sound and to be able to, with clarity and just this precision, like hit a note with such on pitch, on the ability to know when I am not and when I am able to. Like that, there's something just so profound in the awareness of that, having that ability to hear and to be able to create sound with precision. It can happen, for example, just this afternoon in a deep conversation with somebody and watching them connect to a part of themselves, a true part of themselves that perhaps they've kept hidden away for a long time. And when that moment of connection happens, that there's laughter and there's tears and something happened just because of a conversation between one person and another person. And so I just love this beautiful pairing that we can view ourselves as being these such refined, sharp, precise, powerful arrows, but yet ourselves can also be this soft, whole, wholesome, experiential being. And it's just such a wonderful, multifaceted view of the self. And I'd love to hear from us later as well. I know I'm asking a lot of things for you guys to remember for us to talk about. Perhaps some moments that similar to what I've described where you have experienced maybe ikigai and just some of your everyday moments. Not necessarily, we do remember these huge life-changing moments that we go through, whether they be super celebratory and joyful and wonderful or very challenging and painful. But there are all these wonderful moments in between when this arrow, when our self, it's traveling through time. These moments where ikigai can be experienced when we are present, when we're here in the moment, in that moment of movement. And we're always moving through life, in some direction. That we're able to enjoy and have that awareness of ourself moving through time is an incredible thing. I am also aware that many times I am totally not present in a moment as I'm moving through time. And I'm sure we've all experienced this where we're just so focused on getting our list done, or we have meetings back to back and there's deadlines for things that we're just piercing through time and oblivious to the environment sort of around us. Referencing back again to Zen archery, one of the philosophies in the approach is the ability to see one thing, but see all things. And so this ability to focus, really focus in on a particular thing, on a particular purpose. Me and Malia talk sometimes about these bigger purposes, and I love to reference them as a worthy cause, or what would I call it, Malia? It was a worthy goal. It was there was a specific term, a noble cause. Noble cause is what I said the other day. And so this ability to clearly see our noble cause, our this great purpose or this great aim, yet still be fully aware of everything around, of the environment, of the people, of the place. From a personal experience, I'm not a Zen archer. I can only relate to it through my own lived experience. And the only time I've done archery was while I was traveling in Europe, and the hotel that we stayed at offered these archery classes. So me and my husband booked it, and it was just such an incredible experience to be able to sense the entire body. And it was windy and it was rainy also this day. So we were literally standing outside in the wind and the rain because I said, we're not going to cancel. This is the only chance we'll probably ever be able to shoot archery at this level. And so too, I've experienced that in true physicality, this direction of the arrow and adjusting your tension and adjusting up so it comes down, and being aware of the wind, sensing the wind and the rain, all affecting the trajectory of your aim and the arrow. And yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, thanks everybody for letting me kind of share my experience on this idea of the arrow of the self. And I think for me, at least, it's such a great reminder to just continue to be present and aware as the higher self, as this great observer of wonderful moments, meaningful moments, moments of purpose that are happening to us, in front of us, and around us all the time. And that it's okay if we start in a certain direction to still land upon that we have this ability to pivot, and to change course and to refine ourselves, to evolve ourselves, just like arrows moving through time, to still land upon marks with purpose and with meaning. No matter what the obstacles or the circumstances that are placed in front of us, the more that we are able to cultivate ourselves, remain open, remain students, we're able to maneuver, and we're able to soar and twist and turn and glide through time and hit the mark, whatever those marks may be for each of us. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dustin. Lots of really, really great thoughts to consider. Can I just ask a clarifying question before I ask a bigger question? Does ikigai in Japanese have something to do with archery? Or is it more of a life philosophy?
It's more of a life philosophy.
Okay.
They might somehow include it in Zen archery, but I didn't find a direct link in my reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Okay, so here's my question, and you really touched on it a bunch of times. It was kind of like this. When you read out that quote from, I think, one of the Upanishads, and it says the arrow is the self.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what Brahman is the target.
Brahman is the mark.
The mark, the target. And then the bow is
Pranava or Aum.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So the sound of Om, the pronunciation. It doesn't say what or who the archer is.
Yeah.
And so the arrow itself, as I understand it, is not truly self-guiding. I mean, it's always going to be subject to these different influences of gravity, of wind, of the metal or whatever material it's made out of, being affected by maybe the temperature. It's always being affected by, and certainly by the directionality and the speed and power by which it's propelled initially. So the only real guide to that arrow, which cannot be self-guiding, is the archer. And I think we acknowledge that we, as human beings, do have this ability to make choices in our lives. And we can choose one thing versus another thing. And if, like you were saying, if we're going towards, a certain goal and then we get an obstacle, we can choose some way to get over, under, through it, around that obstacle, or decide, well, maybe that goal wasn't the one I was supposed to go for anyway. I'll choose another goal. But it's always about this choice. And in terms of, shooting that arrow. And so I'm kind of wondering if maybe the arrow and the archer are different levels of self. So
I actually had the question in there to ask you guys. So who or what is shooting the arrow? Who or what is the archer? Yeah.
So what does everybody think about that?
That's a great question.
By the way, I love that we had two different animals with us in this conversation. So there are really 7 of us here, not just 5.
I think they enjoyed it too.
Uh-huh.
Thinking about who the archer is. Actually, I'll share a personal story. I can really deeply connect to this topic. Almost. In high school, I did riflery, which is the very European style of Zen archery. It's not as good as a metaphor, I'm realizing. For one thing, like, the bullets are all exactly the same, as far as I can tell. So there is no, like, spinning the bullet to make it go a different direction. I don't think a bullet could hop over an obstacle. Anyways, but when I was doing riflery, excuse the dogs, a big thing that happened after doing it for a few years is kind of what you're talking about. There were moments when I was really deep in meditation, basically before I knew what meditation was. Deep in meditation, and like being that precise, you can watch your heartbeat through the scope. And so learning to slow down the heartbeat and really like becoming one with everything that's going on. And only when I could repeat that over and over and over again for an entire match is when you can get 10, 10, 10. And that's what you have to get. You have to get perfect shots every single time to win competitions. Yeah, and you can't be pressured to do that because then the heartbeat rises and you can no longer shoot straight. So yeah, that really intense. I'm really glad that I did that as a sport in high school. Very good experience. And so thinking about that and like all of the meditation and stuff that I've done since, I really there were moments when I did not exist. My heart rate was literally flat for seconds at a time. And the shot comes off. It feels like I'm not even pulling the trigger. So I think there's something there. I'm not poetic enough to say it, but the dissolving of the archer into everything else that's going on. And there's something else there about causes and conditions that are all of the causes and conditions of the environment that shoot off the bullet or the arrow. Yeah. It's a lot. Overwhelming unless you're thinking about it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Z. I'm reminded of two things. One, in Zen archery, when I was reading up on it, one of the focuses is for the archer to become one with the arrow. And when that moment happens is when the perfect moment of release happens, when the arrow can be set free. And I also remember, really interesting, I didn't bring up, but some of you know that I was a really serious bowler at one time. And when you first start bowling, the only thing you think that you have to keep your eyes on the pins. So you're always trying to look and throw the ball, 65 feet away to hit these pins, which is kind of tough, with a 16-pound bowling ball. As you learn and you actually start to become trained to bowl properly, you are taught to look, if you look about 6 feet down the lanes, where the lanes start, much closer, there are all these arrows, all arrows. And everything in bowling revolves around focusing on the arrows. Every angle, every adjustment, every spin, it's all around hitting the arrows. And so when you're up there, you keep your eyes on the arrow until the moment you see your ball go over the arrow that you're aiming for, then you can look up to see what the result is. And so it's such a practice because you so want to look at the pins. Everything in you wants to look at the pins. And we would also be trained this really similar to Zen archery, which is to become one with the bowling ball, one with your swing, until there's no differentiation of that feeling that ball in your hand. You are a part of that ball is a part of you, and you're just releasing your intention, you're releasing your focus. And so when I think about who, for me at least, who or what is this archer, in my case, the bowler, or in your case, the rifleman. To me, it is this higher self. This higher self, still a part of the self, but this higher self that is observing, that is able to see and give some direction, give some oomph, give some energy to kind of prompt into the direction that I needed to move or needed to release into.
I think we had this in common, that I was also a Marx person. In high school, I was the 94 JV ILH champion. And our coach was, I think, really progressive for the 90s. He actually had read a study on basketball players and how basketball players who visualized hitting the three-point shot actually had a higher chance of hitting it in real life. And so he used to have us visualize the target and hitting the 10. And I think that there's a really interesting question here, like, what is the self? Who is shooting the arrow? Because even as me, if I was upset, right, the heartbeat, it's going to actually shift. If I hold too long, if I don't hold long enough, there's a lot of factors, whether it was like my emotional state and my heart rate, or if my body was tired, whether or not I had practiced enough, whether or not I had, calculated and honed all those small little adjustment pads to get it just right. And so what is the thing that is actually pulling the trigger? It's all of me, but is there that one piece that's maybe a little bit more of that impartial observer that's still me? A really good question. So many factors.
I don't have any shooting experience. My gymnastics experience with accomplishing certain tricks, and tricks that were very physically challenging, dangerous and scary. And visualizing was critical. Some of you have heard me say that I wasn't able to do a trick until I could dream it. And in my dream, I could sense my body doing that dream, that move perfectly. And then I could do it in waking life. However, if in the middle of that trick, I let go of that visualization, I would fall invariably. I could not complete the trick if I succumbed to my fear. And that's what would let go of the vision, was my fear would jump in the way and break the connection. Yeah. The vision of how to do it and the sensation of how to do it had to stay, there had to be this connection between that consciousness or vision or whatever it was and my body. And without that connection between the two, I couldn't accomplish it. So it's certainly there is a connection between this archer who's releasing the arrow and the consciousness. There's a consciousness between the archer and the arrow, or the action of the arrow. It is kind of mysterious, isn't it?
It almost made me think, when you just said that What if this archer is focus or consciousness or something like this? Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe it's the whatever that common thread is between all of the factors, whether it's how I'm feeling or how I'm actually doing, quality of equipment. There's something that's common to all of those frames and factors. Maybe that's the self.
I think that although it's really important, they say to have a really good arrow and a really good bow to be able to do your best archery. On the other hand, somebody who is really an excellent archer, or like, let's say they're an excellent golfer, you could probably, give them a gardening tool and they'd still be able to make a putt that got that ball into the hole, right?
Mm.
Or you give them just a very low quality violin and they could still play a song that's gonna bring you to tears, make your heart weep. It may not have the same tonal perfection as if you were playing on the Stradivarius, but the consciousness connecting through that activity is going to still hit the mark.
And that's true. Mm.
Mieko, I know you're taking a lot of notes and so on, but we probably need a little insight from you on these questions. Have any thoughts that come to mind?
Archery is hard. I learned it when I lived in California. Um, so yes, of course, like anything else, you need to practice a lot. But like Kumbhalia said, there are many factors. Um, like uh, you have to be mindful to the moment you release the arrow. But your ego, wants to win, right? Like hit the target, right on the target. But then when you put your energy into trying to do it right, then a lot of times it doesn't go well. Like I find it in my calligraphy, um, because you're not relaxed. So after all the practices and after, all the hard work, you just have to release your ego and just be there at the moment. And then when you don't aim it, then you hit the mark. That's the way I think a lot of things work. Um, yeah, so I was thinking, I don't know, archer could be ego, like our physical body with discursive mind, and arrow could be our true self, or mindful consciousness. I think you can think in a lot of different ways, but yeah, it's a very interesting topic. We can talk about this forever. Thank you.
But something that you said brought me back to what Douglas Dustin was saying about the relaxation maybe connects up with that state of full presence. And while we're probably when we have our ego activated, our ego takes up so much of our awareness that it doesn't allow us to be fully present to the wholeness of the moment. It blocks that out somehow. And it's really interesting. It was like you were saying from the Zen and the Art of Archery, something that we need to the ability to see one thing and all things in a state of full presence. And maybe we can't see the one thing or all the things as long as that ego is in our face. We can't see either one. That's all we see. It's the big me.
I'm kind of reminded of that moment just currently in life when we prepare and prepare for a musical piece, to perform a musical piece. And you do all this preparation and practice for that moment of release, that 5 minutes or less of the performance after so much time and work. And then in that moment, you miss the joy of that whole journey and being able to share music with everyone who's there and play along with the other musicians or dancers and singers. If you're so worried about playing your part right or singing your part right, you miss out on that moment of release where it was all for one thing, but you're able to fully see everything and enjoy everything and be a part of it, of that moment. So, yeah, I think that's just such a beautiful thing to have the awareness of. And we just in so many different things in life, I think those moments are there for us. Yeah.
Ooh, I agree. I'm noticing we've brought up a lot of different very challenging things like archery, riflery, bowling, calligraphy, all of these things that are very, very difficult. And so if we just relaxed while we did them, like it wouldn't turn out very well. Calligraphy would look terrible and the shot would go wherever. So when we're able to in life, and I think this is a really good metaphor that I want to take with me, doing really hard things, life is full of very difficult things, and if we're able to focus for a long time, concentrate on developing our skill, practice, and even when we fail, keep going, all of those things, until we can get to that point where we can concentrate and be one with everything that's going on, that's when the really beautiful insights of like hitting the target over and over again or making that really beautiful calligraphy, yeah, it happens only in that sweet spot of dissolving of the ego and the total relaxation while still being completely concentrated. Ooh, this is a really good topic. Thank you.
With very insightful participants in the conversation. There's a story from the Hindu tradition in the great epic, the Mahabharata. And in it, the great archer Arjuna is a child with his 4 brothers. They're the Pandava brothers. Pandava means 5. Pand means 5. And so anyway, the 5 Pandava brothers are all getting trained by just a master of the martial arts, and they're getting trained in archery. And he sets a clay bird up in a tree and asks each of the brothers to come one at a time and to take their bow and arrow. And as they're standing, aiming at this clay bird, he asks them what they can see. And the first one gets up and says he can see the sky. The teacher says, sit down. And the next one comes up and he says, oh, I see the tree and all the leaves. Sit down. Oh, the third one comes up and he can see the branch that the bird is sitting on. He has to sit down. The fourth one comes up and he can see the bird. He's still asked to sit down, and Arjuna comes up and he can see the eye of the bird. And the teacher says, shoot. And he's right on. He's got the target. So that does certainly show that necessity of that concentration, that focus in order to let that arrow fly directly to the target. And I just wonder whether at that same time, it's not part of the story, Arjuna was able to see all things. You know, be in that more selfless state that allowed him to see the eye of the bird, but maybe part of him was seeing the whole scene happening, the whole context, and knew that that arrow was going to go straight to the mark. My husband Cliff has now hit, and he's a medium good golfer. Doesn't golf that often. Just had a little bit of coaching. Not a competitive. He's never been in a tournament or anything like that, but he has a rather remarkable history now of, I think it's like 7 holes in one that he's hit in his life.
Wow.
And in all but 1 or 2 cases, he knew as he was taking that swing and it connected with the ball, he knew it was going to go in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this knowingness that it had already happened.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, that full presence, I guess. The one thing in all things, and this knowingness. And you talked about, Dustin, I'm remembering, I'm just seeing the time. You talked about the arrow of self traveling through time and being aware sometimes that it's doing so. And I wonder if at that point there is no past or future. There's only that eternal now.
Mm.
Oh, wow. This was such a fabulous conversation. Dustin, thank you for starting us off on this lovely conversational journey that we've been on. Hold on one moment. Our theme for next week, and I'm going to tell you about this, and then I'm going to ask someone if they'd be kind enough to give a vote of thanks to Dustin. Our topic for next week in the Stella Moving Center Almanac is fire, Ke'ahi in Hawaiian. And it seems very likely that our eldest son, the firefighter, is probably going to be the one who's able to speak to us. If you've been receiving Life at the Center letters over the years, you may have read quite a few different stories about Shankar. And so he'll be a lot of fun. And also, I suspect, have some insights to give from having very direct and consequential experiences with this natural element of fire. So I think that's something we can look forward to. Is there somebody who would like to give a vote of thanks to Dustin for today? Who is it? Malia and Z are looking at each other. Malia's got her mute off first.
I was like, I thought Z had his too. I'd love to give a vote of thanks to Dustin. Thank you so much for sharing a really complex topic from different points of view that all seem to point toward the heart of the matter. I think that you really exemplify the arrow of self with many things you do, whether it's music or management, all the things. And I just thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.
Join you. And thank every single one of you for the really insightful comments that you had to make that drew not just from, kind of intellectually thinking about something, but also from your own personal life experiences, which Dustin was asking us to draw from, and coming up with some new approaches. I think all of us had the experience. Twinkle, if you had that experience of thinking of things in a new way that you hadn't thought of in the past. And thank you for the animals who attended today also. I think they contributed and probably gained a lot out of it too. Thank you so much, Dustin. Aloha all.
Thank you. Aloha, everyone.
Aloha. Thank you. Thank you, Dusty.